Hello, I'm Jashykins, and I'm here to review the two-parter Coma, which was on A&E, I think, a few nights ago. The thing is, I totally spaced out and forgot it was showing, and so I wasn't able to get this review out sooner. So I'm very, very extremely sorry for that. Anyways, this is going to be my first thoughts on the movie. So there's going to be spoilers probably. So if you have not seen Coma yet, go watch it and then you can watch this movie, unless you don't mind spoilers. And I was getting up a drink. Anyways, this movie was holy fucking shit. This was just, there's awesome does not begin to describe it, and I mean the old school way of it being full of awe. I mean, this movie had me yelping out a few times. Now, it's about this conspiracy, and according to Rev Reznor, like all Ridley Scott movies, this one ends with the conspiracy still going on. And the creepiest part has to be that the whole conspiracy is that they're learning more about the human body, and then once they're done with their test subjects, what they'll do is they'll harvest them for organs and then repeat the process with another person. Now, that on its own might be a little creepy, but how this conspiracy works is that these patients come in for an everyday procedure, no big deal, and they get put into coma, hence the title. They get put into coma, and that happens, and that's fucking creepy. Now, I will say the weak point of part one had to be, oh, something's wrong, something's creepy. Something's wrong, something's creepy. Something wrong, something's creepy. That's really all part one is. And part two is when you get into the big juicy stuff. But I will say it's good to have character build up, and while you know something's wrong, something's creepy, seeing how bad the conspiracy goes that the people who look into the coma patients get dismissed. At one point a doctor had some oxycodone put into his car to try to frame the doctor. Luckily that didn't happen. But of course, unluckily enough, that guy decided to become part of the conspiracy for some really fucking odd reason. Because he does all this shit to save the girl and says, oh yeah, it was all a dream. That was just fucking bullshit. I can see why they had to do that, because they had to make it so it never really ended. But I was just like, seriously, dude? Seriously? You have all this evidence pointing against that bitch. You know, the older woman he's fucking. And you decide to go with her instead of this woman who was nearly killed. Yeah, that part I didn't really get, like, at all. But the two parts that really got to me the most, I'm not sure if they were part one or part two. I'm just combining it into one big, happy, joyous family. Sorry, I had coffee and the buzz still hasn't worn down, and I watched an awesome movie. Anyways, the two parts that really got to me the most was when the one guy's, I think, was it Stark? Whose car got thrown off the overpass by a Mack truck. That was fucking awesome. I was live tweeting during this, so I think my tweet at that time was like, "Oh my god, no, we can't die, no!" But that was just fucking awesome. Then the point where the lead woman goes in and decides, and into her apartment, and she's the police officer who's the bad guy, and you know he's the bad guy from previous scene, goes in and hands her the paper and is like, do you know what this is? Yeah, it's a coma patient. He goes, shh. And at that point, I must have jumped like 50 feet in the air. I was like, no! Actually, at one point I was sort of screamed in shock and I coughed. That was really fucking annoying. So those parts were really good. Especially, and the two, you know, running away scenes that I liked were of I'm calling him the flirty guy because he was flirting with the main lead, female lead. And I loved that chase scene. That chase scene was just fucking awesome. And of course the end chase scene when she's sort of drugged and you've seen from her point of view and all this disgusting stuff. Ugh. It was just wow. And I sort of get why the people were doing it, to improve upon the human body. You know, well, I mean, improve medicine. I can get that. It makes a really logical sense if you've, you know, been disenchanted by the medical field and want to do good, but you're doing it the wrong way. I'm just really hoping that the main lead realized it wasn't a dream. Yeah, that's really important. So yeah. Yeah. And I would say the grandfather being the head of it was good foreshadowing, because through part 1 and part 2 you just, every now and again I'll be the grandfather this, the grandfather that. Very good use of foreshadowing. And then when the creepy old lady in the reception area, ugh. And when she's telling her story, and like, now I have all these babies. It's really creepy. She was like the creepiest part, at least one of the parts. And the first part, as I said, is really the nuts and bolts. Here's the whole setup for it. Here's why she's doing this. Yeah, I liked part 1, don't get me wrong. Part 1 made me die for part 2, but part 2 is way better than part 1, just because you needed a part to say what's going on and everything. The introduction, you needed the introduction, so then you have room for that shit stuff. So, I really enjoyed this movie, and I would highly recommend it to people. And if you're one of the people who decide that they didn't mind spoilers, go see this movie, because it's awesome. And I think there's probably reruns. Yeah, there's reruns, so you can probably catch it at one of those times. I ended up seeing it by recording a rerun. So maybe that will work for you. So, all in all, Coma, excellent movie. My review of it should be out on my blog. I won't be putting this up on YouTube. My blog should have it up probably later tonight or tomorrow, depending, because I have a couple different stuff I want to do on my blog tonight. So I'll definitely be trying to get my Coma review out ASAP. Don't worry about that. And my blog is, of course, jashykins.blogspot.com. My Facebook page is facebook.com/jashykins page. My Twitter is jashykins. So that's really it. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe, like, and if you're viewing this on my blog, thank you just for watching. You're great. And until next video, goodbye.